Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. We are live. It is lunchtime here on the West Coast. It's like 3:30 on the East Coast. This is the Sprint Ride Option Podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini. Jason Aponte to my right, as always. And Jason, I just want to open up and say I appreciate you for allowing me to adjust this time. I had some things come up in the afternoon that I needed to help out with. And Jason Aponte, being the nicest human being on the planet Earth, was able to adjust and meet me at this time. So, Jason, how are you doing on this lovely Friday afternoon?
Well, before you heap all that praise on me, I have to tell you that this actually really helps me a lot as well, because my family was coming over tonight and I was going to force them to go sit in the other room while I did the podcast. So now that doesn't have to happen. So before you make it seem like I'm the greatest guy in the world, it's almost perfect that this happened. Avery's in the other room right now with the tablet, so we're good to go.
Jason, you know me. Any chance I get to praise you, I am going to take. And here we are. So the 49ers have a football game this weekend, and I'm going to have fun with this podcast because the Jaguars are a fun, interesting team for me personally. Multiple reasons. I'm going to start with the fun one. You know who the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars is, correct?
Yes.
Shad Khan. Do you know who his son is?
Is a wrestler.
His son is Tony Khan, the guy who runs All Elite Wrestling. And I just want to say a happy belated National Cowboy Shit Day because our anxious millennial cowboy, Hangman Adam Page, won the AEW title on Sunday at Full Gear in a great match. So that's the fun one I wanted to get out of the way, just show I can tie wrestling into anything I want. The other one, Jason, is as fun as much as it sounds like I'm lying. This is the game I circled when the season started. And the reason why is, as a Florida State fan and a fan of Michigan, when Jim Harbaugh moved to Michigan, because I'm a big Jim Harbaugh guy, I hate Urban Meyer with a passion. And there will be nothing better. There's no better way for me to spend 2 days before my birthday than watching my favorite football team, the San Francisco 49ers, beat the living crap out of Urban Meyer's Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know. I say Jaguars. I don't think that's the correct way to pronounce the Jags. So I'm very excited personally. I'm hoping Kyle Shanahan, runs it like he did on Monday against the Rams, and they do the same thing against Jacksonville.
I don't want to burst your bubble, but I don't think that they're going to whip anybody's ass in this game. I think that this is going to be a much closer game than people are thinking. I wouldn't be out here saying, man, they're going to blow them out 41, whatever. No. This game is going to be allow me. I don't want to, throw water on your fire, because you definitely want Urban Meyer to run the score up. But the truth is, the Jaguars actually play pretty good football on the defensive side, and they've been in games, and I could see this game being an ugly East Coast game, a la the Eagles game, unless the offense does something that they did last week, or they continue what they were doing last week.
Yeah, and I think the way I was going to start the real conversation before I got my wrestling meme out of the way and got my hate for Urban Meyer out of the way is there's two words that can describe Sunday's game, and that is trap game. I mean, you look at how the Niners played on Monday against the Rams. I don't want to say the word emotional, because I don't think emotional is the right word, but a very important win, a win that gets everybody very excited. Everybody's locked in on what the Niners are again because of how they played. I cannot think of maybe a worse matchup for a team who came off a very emotional win than a 2-7 Jaguars team that at the start of the season, you probably looked at this game and wrote in a big fat Sharpie W on it. And it is a very, dare I say, gritty Jacksonville football team that they play a very good defense. You look at the total yards they've allowed the last 3 weeks. Seattle, they have Russell Wilson at quarterback. And I don't think Russ started that game. I think that was Gino's game. Mm-hmm. So maybe throw this one out a little bit. But they allowed 229 yards against the Seahawks. Geno Smith, I get it. The next week, they play Buffalo, and Buffalo is very good, a very good offensive team. They have Josh Allen, very good quarterback, 301 total yards and a win. They win 9-6. They win that. That's a huge upset. And then last week against the Colts, they give up 295 total yards and they fall behind 17-0 in the first quarter. Easily could have gone away and said, because especially with all the stuff in the offseason with, Urban Meyer's not going to last. He's going to lose this locker room. And that leaked into the season as well. They come back and they have a chance to win the game on the final drive. So this isn't like, as much as it is, as easy it is to say, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2-7, rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. This isn't as easy of a game as I think people think it is. I think it's fair to say the Niners, I think the best comparison I have is this week, the Niners are what the Rams were on Monday, and the Jaguars are what the Niners were, is going into that game. We both said the Rams should win this game very easily, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily a trap game, because when I think of trap game, what I think is a team that is like 7-2 going into a game against 2-7. Like the 49ers are 4-5. There's no trap games. There's no trap games for me when your record is under 500. So this is not a trap game. This could be some sort of letdown, but I can't say that. The 49ers need to win this game. They do. Yes. And last week, when I watched the film over for them, the Jaguars I'm talking about, is they could have easily folded up, right? Mm-hmm. Because Jonathan Taylor had, what was it? He had 115 yards in like the first quarter in like 2 drives. And it looked like, oh my goodness, this game is about to get out of hand and it's about to be bad. But the Jaguars defense, they keep them in games, man. And, Trevor Lawrence is obviously developing. Every throw is kind of a tight window throw, only because guys aren't separating. Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones, right? Like those guys obviously are going to be who's starting for them on the outside. But what worries me a little bit more in this game is 2 players, and I highlighted this on Twitter. James Robinson, who I'm a big fan of, is a little bit banged up, and he has a new injury that he's working through after the injury that he just got through, which knocked him out. I want to say 2 weeks ago. I think he played last week, but he didn't really get involved too much. So James Robinson's banged up, but it's 2 players, Jamal Agnew and Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold, I believe, has 60 yards or more in the last 4 games, and he's developing a chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. And Jamal Agnew is exactly what they thought Laviska Shenault was going to be, a la Swiss Army knife. Get the ball to him in space. He's very fast, speedy. He can cause matchup problems. I'm very interested to figure out how the 49ers cover Dan Arnold. Is it going to be just straight up man, Fred on him, or are they going to rotate people? Are they going to have to bring a safety over on him? It's going to be very interesting because he seems to be involved more and more. And Agnew is that wild card where they use him in different ways, sort of like Debo, where they throw the ball to him behind the line of scrimmage and just let him work because he's great with the ball in his hands. The 49ers are going on the East Coast too. Mm-hmm. And they do well, in those games for, Kyle Shanahan does a great job of preparing them. It's just, I see a lot of optimism, and you should be, right? Because what the 49ers did last week was incredible, right? Like on national television. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the matchup is a little bit leery. And, I know that right now we're doing this while there's a press conference going on. So I don't necessarily know what Kyle Shanahan is saying at this point, especially in terms of Elijah Mitchell, who we don't know if he's going to play. John Lynch came out today and said that he'd be a game time decision, which is okay because Jeff Wilson Jr. has shown that he's more than capable. But I'm just interested to figure out how this game plays out because I do think the 49ers win. I just don't think that it's some sort of, man, we're going to roll on these guys. I think that it's going to be one of those ugly games that, you're going to get the win and you're just going to get on the damn plane and get the hell out of there with it, I think.
Yeah, and I'm following Twitter, so if anything noteworthy is said during this press conference, I'll point it out. Elijah Mitchell's doubtful. Lombardi just tweeted also, Mitchell broke his finger in the second quarter, but toughed it out and didn't tell anyone. He just assumed he jammed his finger. So there we go. So Mitchell's doubtful, so I'm assuming Jeff Wilson is going to be the starter. Sermon's probably going to get some reps. And Jason, I'm going to use a thing you said all season. The NFL is a week-to-week sport, so I'm saying it's a trap game because last week the 49ers looked like the team we expected them to be. So I'll spin it a little bit on you. And then you mentioned Dan Arnold as well. He 68 receiving yards 3 weeks ago, 60 against Buffalo, and then 67. So he's definitely heating up, and he's definitely a big piece in that offense. And Jason, I'm going to steal one of your points too with James Robinson out. we need to get a sounder for this, but we have a revenge game.
Woo!
Carlos Hyde likely going to start for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, I think James Robinson's actually questionable to play. So I mean,
questionable.
He would. I mean, yeah, and but Carlos Hyde will play in this game, no matter what.
He will
play.
Yeah, last note, James Robinson was limited in practice, so we'll see what that means. The other one I want to point out, the other name I'm curious in is Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't thrown a touchdown in 2 games. The Jaguars' offensive line is, lack of better terms, not good. This is a huge game for the Niners defense because they came out, the pass rush was fine. The linebackers played well. The secondary was fine as well. Jimmy Ward, huge game, obviously. I really think a key to this game, as dumb as it sounds very generic, is don't let Trevor Lawrence beat you, because this offensive line is bad. This is a game the pass rush needs to appear in. The pass rush needs to be in this game, especially with how bad that offensive line is. And to me, don't let Trevor Lawrence throw a touchdown. Don't let him get going, because he has shown flashes. He's only had 1 game with multiple touchdowns. That was week 1 against Houston. But he's fine for what the first overall pick is. He's progressing. You're seeing steps each week with him. The Niners defense, this needs to be a Niners defense game where this isn't a, hold them to 7, 10, 14 points, whatever it may be, and hope your offense can score points. This needs to be a defense stamps this game for this offense and says, hey, we got you guys. We're only going to give up, 7 points, 3 points, whatever it is, against an offense that isn't particularly great. Hello, No Horsing Around podcast. I think they can too in a I forget the exact term I'm looking for, but yeah, I think the Niners can easily handle the Jaguars, but obviously it's a little harder than that, because I think you could say the Niners should have easily handled the Lions and the Niners should have easily handled the Eagles, and that wasn't the case. So I mean, obviously with the Lions, they did until in the 4th quarter, and we don't need to dive into that because that was week 1. That was 2 whole months ago. But yeah, for everybody saying that this should be a win, I think it's a lot harder to say that, just because of what the Niners have been and what the Jaguars have shown they can do. Because as I said, like last week, the Colts are a fine football team. The Niners have seen what the Colts are. The Jaguars didn't roll over, and they almost won that game. A turnover in the last drive from Lawrence, and this is an offense that puts way too much on their first overall pick, and the Niners need to expose that.
Yeah, and if I could use a wrestling term to describe what I feel this game is going to be,
always
a slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker. Good old JR.
It's going to be really, really ugly sort of game. I mean, what I mean by that is not, turnovers, penalties, anything like that. I just think that this game is going to be a lot closer than people believe, and I think that it's going to be one in the trenches. I mean, Josh Allen, Miles Jack is going to play in this game as well too. They present problems, and
yes.
their matchups, if they're able to exploit that right side, and the 49ers are not able to run the ball the way that they were last week, and we all know, look, Jimmy Garoppolo has been fine. He's been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. When you start to get into that 25 attempt, 30 attempt, 35 attempt, 40 attempts, if that's the case, then those no throws, the likelihood it increases. And that's the problem. And the Jaguars are a little opportunistic when it comes to that. So, yes, I use the wrestling term, and I stole no throws. So I'm 2 for 2 so far right now on those.
I like how my very scientific term no throw has just taken over this podcast, and that's what it is. In theory, I guess you could say this is a quote unquote revenge game for Josh Allen as well, because if you remember that draft before the Cardinals were settled on Kyler Murray, Josh Allen was one of the names that the Niners were looking at too, with Quinnen Williams, because everybody assumed Nick Bosa was off the board. So maybe not a revenge game, but I'll call it a show out game. I'm sure Josh Allen is going to want to show the Niners what they missed out on. And he's been very good this year. He's bounced back. He had a down year last year, but hey, that's 2020. What can you say? He already has 5.5 sacks on the season. He's on pace to surpass his rookie number of 10.5. He was hurt last year. He only played half the season. He's looked really good, and it's going to be a fun matchup to watch with him and Trent Williams.
You are missing 2 more revenge games that are on the docket here.
Okay.
Who's the general manager for the Jacksonville
Oh,
Jaguars?
I don't even want to think about him.
Well, all right, then let's talk about the real one then. C.J. Beathard is here for his revenge.
Big CJ Beathard guy. We love CJ Beathard.
He actually said a bunch of really nice things about George Kittle. Obviously, they're Iowa buddies and everything as well too. But yeah, it's just funny to just perpetuate that. But I think that the message should be, again, this league and the way this season has been going more than anything has been wild, and we really can't quantify it. Right? Everything that we think we know, we don't know. So that's the caution that I want to throw to 49er fans. Like, I'm not trying to be a downer. I think the 49ers win this game, but you would be foolish to think that the 49ers are just going to come in here and roll all over them. And I think that that's the part that's kind of scares me, is just, beating Buffalo, staying in that game with Indianapolis when it looked like Indianapolis was going to run away with that game. I know that, the guys from the No Horsing Around podcast, they had me on during Indianapolis week. Good guys, man. You guys should subscribe to their channel too. I mean, I understand that they're Colts-centric, but they're great guys and they know their stuff. But it's true what they're saying here about Urban Meyer is going to find a way to coach his way out of a win.
Slandering Urban Meyer. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you are. But at the same time, a lot of what the 49ers showed last week has to carry over. Now, do I think that they're going to be able to run the ball 40-something times? I don't think so. There was something to what happened last week that was more about punking the Rams, and the Rams were completely unprepared. I don't think that that's going to happen, and weirder things have happened this season. So I just want to throw a little caution out there towards this.
Dude, did Kyle Shanahan just hop up and say Elijah Mitchell's doubtful and then just left the press conference? Because I haven't seen anything on this press conference since.
I think it was happening. It was happening right when it was happening around 3:00 or something like that on my time. So it was already almost done, I guess.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we talked about it on Monday a little bit about minimizing Jimmy Garoppolo is actually maximizing him, because as we said, this very scientific term, you're reducing his no throws if you're giving him less throws throughout the game. But it's not as easy as just game planning 40 runs for a running back, because it's a flow of the game thing. Obviously, Shanahan saw something in the Rams defense that said, hey, we can run the ball more and really get it going. I do think the key is, though, with a pretty decent pass rush in Jacksonville, is let's just dive all in on this theory that Garoppolo, and I don't even think it's a theory, I think the numbers prove it, Garoppolo's significantly better out of the shotgun. Seeing things, not being under center, no horsing around. Thank you. It's CM Punk, big CM Punk guy. I guess the best way to say it is in those 15 scripted plays, I want to see Garoppolo more out of the shotgun and run and see which one feels more comfortable and then go from there. Obviously, you say that about every game, right? You see where the 15 play script goes and go from there. Obviously, that's football 101, Andrew. Thank you. But emphasize that Garoppolo out of shotgun. See what he can do, because if he can be what he was against Los Angeles, because I wanted to say this on Monday, forgot. People talking about no big time throws and posting his chart of oh, look how short these throws are. That's what Jimmy Garoppolo is, and he made big time throws even in those short situations. So just getting the ball out of his hand, not letting this pass rush get to him, is going to be huge. And the first step is getting him in the shotgun formation and letting him go. So I'm very interested to see Jimmy Garoppolo, because we have seen 3 weeks of average to above average to good Jimmy Garoppolo, a variance of it. And I think this can be a game where if the Niners come out and play like we thought they would against Jacksonville at the start of this season, and Jimmy Garoppolo is on that offense and doing work, that'll go a long way in the confidence of Garoppolo, I think. So that's where I stand with the whole Garoppolo situation against this defense, is get him in shotgun, let him get those quick throws going and see where it goes, because he has been fine the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think when people hear big time throws, they assume it's these bombs down the field. No, they're tight window throws in big moments, and I think that that's, we talked about that with the Rams game as well too. So I mean, it's just, again, it's about who's going to execute better. I still believe in my heart that the 49ers will. They are the better team. I mean, that's not really up for debate at this point, but you just have to execute like that, and I think you'll come away with the win in this one.
Yeah, and as I said, within a vacuum, that's the word I was looking for. It should
Right.
be easy to say the 49ers are the better team. They should win. But how many games have we said that this year?
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue the Niners are a better team than the Seahawks. And they showed that in the first half of that Seahawks game, just couldn't get points on the board. I'm sorry, no horsing around, but I do think the Niners are a better team than the Colts, and that didn't happen. So like there's things like that. And obviously, I'm not comparing the Colts to the Jaguars. There's obviously a very far skill gap between those two teams, but this defense is not something I want to mess around with. And that's what scares me. If Jacksonville's offense doesn't necessarily scare me. I think if they put it together, they'll be fine, but it's not like they're going to be this team that's going to put up a ton of points. I mean, if you look at their season this year, the most amount of points they have put up in a game is 23 against the Dolphins. 23 is not a lot of points, right? That's not a lot of points in the 2021 NFL season. Their defense is what scares me. And if their defense if we just assume the Jaguars defense plays at what the best ability they have, the Niners might struggle getting to 23. And if the Jaguars just happen to get a couple more points, where's Jesse? If the Jaguars score more points than the Niners, the Jaguars are going to win.
Our analytics guy with our number of what's the 49ers record when they outscore opponents?
4-0. I remember that from Monday. But yeah, so that's my worry is the Jaguars defense comes out and plays at what their peak is. And I think that will create issues for the 49ers.
Yeah, and again, can't take anybody lightly. I feel like we're repeating ourselves at this point, but I mean, in terms of what scares me about them is I think that they'll do enough on defense to hang around, and they've shown that they can put out very good offenses. You talked about the Bills. I mean, obviously they were struggling a bit in terms of they had a little bit of play calling stagnation. Oh, guys, it doesn't just happen to Kyle Shanahan. If you think that he's sometimes in a funk, it was happening with Brian Daboll, and it happens across the league. But at the same time, you expect Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and that sort of pairing to at least get them out of it. But for all intents and purposes, the Jaguars have been hanging around in almost every game. They haven't exactly been getting dog walked by anybody. I mean, and it's the NFL. You're losing games that way, and it's just they're just a little bit off, right? They just need more players and they just need better coaching, and they'll be there. So, I mean, I think that especially when you think about the 49ers going across country, which, they do well, I just see this game going more like that Eagles game. Not in terms of the offense being struggling or anything like that, but that game being way too close for comfort for a while. And I think that's my fear going into this game with them is you definitely can't take them lightly. And now I'm going to be very interested to figure out what Kyle has cooking up, right? So here's a good question from Ken, right? So no Elijah Mitchell, will we see Sermon Sunday? I'm going to say no.
That's what I was going to say. I thought I was going to have the hot take there. I don't know if we're going to see him.
I'll say why. I'll tell you why. I think that what you saw with the Rams game was a little bit of game planning in terms of putting Deebo Samuel in the backfield. But I do think that it was kind of what you're going to see a little bit more of this week as well, too. Because they were just trying to keep him away from Jalen Ramsey, right? Putting him in the backfield, lining him up in different spots at the last moment, and Jalen Ramsey couldn't get over to him. But I don't think that we're going to, you may see Sermon a little, but you're not going to see him to the degree of like a 1-2 punch, I don't believe. No. And here's my theory on it. Everybody has their conspiracy theory about what's going on. Is it because he's not playing well? Something had to happen behind the scenes that nobody's talking about. Yeah. It has to be something that's gone wrong. Either he popped off in a meeting, didn't show up to a meeting, was late for a meeting, maybe isn't grasping the play. It's something. It's not. It cannot just be his play because his play has not been bad. He averages more than 4 yards a carry. He played well in the Seattle game. He played well towards the end of that Packers game when he got involved more. And remember, Kyle Juszczyk was the first running back on the field. Wouldn't be shocked if you saw that as well too.
Yes.
So I don't know, man. There's something had to have happened. I just don't know what, and they're not going to say. It's not necessarily anything that has to do with play. For me, it feels like something disciplinary, maybe. I don't know, man. It's hard to say.
Real quick, huge shout out to Debbie who DM'd me about 20 minutes ago with the Google pronunciation of Jaguar, and I've been pronouncing it wrong. It is Jaguar. So there we go. Not Jaguar, Jaguar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Huge shout out. I just saw a tweet from Mayoko. Do you want to hear the official 49ers injury report that came out? Well, I just lost it, so let's stall a little bit. We know that JaMychal Hasty is out. I'm just going to run through what I know before I find it.
Yep.
JaMychal Hasty is out. Here it is. Maurice Hurst is out with a calf. Doubtful is Elijah Mitchell with a rib and finger. Safety Jaguars Dart and Dre Greenlaw likely could be activated off IR. Those two have been in my head for the past 24 hours for some reason. And then the other one he had, Deebo Samuel, shin, Jalen Moore, knee, Josh Norman, ribs, saw limited practice this week, but were fully cleared to play versus the Jaguars. And Kyle Shanahan declined whether to say Jalen Moore or Tom Compton will start at right tackle. So we'll see what that means. And hey, I know obviously we have our meme with Tom Compton, but he looked fine on Monday. And if we're going off the week to week thing, I have no reason to say he won't continue that. But obviously, there is more of a past beyond Monday. And we'll see what happens. I think we're both team Jalen Moore in this situation because, like, obviously, like I said it Monday, obviously there's a level of trust with Jalen Moore because the Niners opened up running the ball directly behind him. And so I think the preference for Shanahan himself would be Jalen Moore, and maybe it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game because like Shanahan's weird with the injury stuff, man, because I think it's fair that he said Azeez Al-Shaair, or Dre Greenlaw is going to have to earn his starting spot. But at the same time, I don't think he should have said the same thing about Jaguars Dart. So he's very weird with that type of stuff. So I'm going to just chalk that one down to Shanahan is weird with how he deals with returning players from injury. So that's all I'm going to say on that situation.
Yes, Tom Compton was fine last week. But you're not going to be able to – I don't think they're going to be able to do what they did last week and hide him that much, right? Because they were hiding him with quick passes and everything. And there was somebody who was like, oh, well, remember when we said, well, you're going to miss Mike McGlinchey in this game? And somebody was like, well, did we miss Mike McGlinchey? Yes, you did, because you had to tailor your game plan to get the ball out immediately and not let Tom Compton block. So, yes, you were missing Mike McGlinchey. You literally had to change everything that you were doing because Mike McGlinchey wasn't there. You could not call anything deep down the field because Tom Compton was out there. And Jalen Moore, I got to watch, and it was obviously one series. It was okay. But there were some plays where I was like, okay, that's a guy who's taking his first few reps. Again, all that context is needed. But Josh Allen being put out there on the right side now, I mean, things are going to get hairy fast if it's Tom Compton and they're not able to execute, the run and quick throw thing. They better hope that they're able to execute that game plan, because if they have to get into a position where they have to throw the ball, you're going to see some bad things happen. And that's why week to week, fine. He was fine last week. Cool. But if the game plan is not going to be the same and you're not going to be executing it that way, it can get bad very quickly. And that's the bad part. And then a little bit about Elijah Mitchell, because it sounded like Kyle Shanahan was very optimistic earlier in the week. Like, yeah, broken finger, he'll be fine. Get ready to go. And then as the week progresses, gets worse. Now he's doubtful. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt anytime that he talks about injuries. I mean, the team, the narrative around them, and I hear people saying it all the time, is that they mishandle injuries. I don't know if they mishandle it. Maybe it's just misjudging, and maybe they're too optimistic for having guys bouncing back. So, I mean, with no JaMychal Hasty, no Elijah Mitchell, expect Jeff Wilson, expect Deebo in that backfield, and we'll see. I mean, that remains to be seen, Darius, if Jalen can play. Jalen can play left tackle. That remains to be seen if he can play right tackle, because his first series, there wasn't too much on there that you can point to and say, oh, look, he looks good. There was like literally one play that Aaron Donald ghosted him, and he was like blocking air. He was like behind him, and he still was like trying to grab Aaron Donald. So, I mean, I'm not saying that he won't improve. Yeah, I'm just saying it's not plug and play like it's been. Like people are trying to make it seem. It's not Pop Warner. You can't just say, oh, you played left tackle, play right tackle.
Yeah, and I think the fairest comparison, because Jalen Moore is a rookie, and our guy Don Burr's not here. He'd appreciate I'm making this reference, but Penei Sewell, right? He was the first tackle taken off the board. And the first thing the Lions decided to do with him was we're going to try and shift him to right tackle.
And that's a world-class athlete.
And that's the number one tackle off the board. He was the guy I wanted. I thought he was the best player available in this draft. And it's not as easy to say, hey, play the right side. This isn't Madden where it's just, hey, just stick him to the other side, he'll be fine. It's a lot harder than that. So yeah, sure, he can play on the left side. It's still yet to be seen on the right side. Hi, Brett. I hope
Our
you're in.
resident offensive line guy likes what we're saying, so I feel good. And if you guys don't know who Brett is, you should check out his work on Twitter. And if you want to know about O-line protections and how to play, that's the man right there. I learned a ton from Brett. So if he's saying that we're saying something good, I think we're doing our job, Andrew, and that's a big deal.
Yes. Yeah, go follow our guy Brett at B Rumbeck, Rumbeck, big Viking metal guy. I know I got that wrong. I forget what it's called. I'm sorry, Brett. Yeah, you got a point. Just remembered. Yeah. I mean, Brunskill's a little different because we've seen him do both. Like he's kind of a utility guy that we've seen do both.
All he has to do is envision Aaron Donald in front
that's
of him.
All he has to do. Just Aaron Donald.
Envision Aaron Donald in front of him like the water boy, right? Like just see Aaron Donald and then just do it.
I'm gonna run with a theory that has nothing to do with anything. I think we're gonna see a career game from Jeff Wilson. Because Jeff Wilson was very good with the number 41. Jeff Wilson was pretty good with the number 30. Now he has a real running back number with 22. And so I'm a big believer in getting him in a running back number. And here's a fun thing. We're talking about Deebo Samuel, 1,000 yards receiving in this game, likely to happen.
And the first quarter will be done.
Yeah, how about this one? Jeff Wilson in his career, 229 carries for 999 yards. So we might have another milestone. Well, we should have another milestone in this game. Fingers if Jeff Wilson doesn't finish with 1,000 career rushing yards out of this game's like the Niners lost. This game's over.
And it's your fault.
And it's my fault. But so a couple fun little milestones to look for. Also, Jeff Wilson apparently just turned 26. 26 in 3 days. So his birthday was 3 days ago. Jeff Wilson fact day for this podcast today.
Jeff Wilson's drip is unmatched.
I love Jeff Wilson.
He's so good. Wilson. He's so angry, and I'm happy that we're gonna get to see him. Like I would love to see Elijah Mitchell because he's been playing so well, and that's fine. But I mean, honestly, he that dark place, like you've seen it. The Patriots game, he did it. The Cardinals game that knocked them out of the playoffs, he's done it. He's more than capable. That's why. That's why even if Trey Sermon wasn't whatever in wherever he is, doghouse, whatever, for whatever reason, it still probably would be Jeff Wilson because Kyle Shanahan knows he can trust him and. Pass blocking, because if you notice in the Rams game, they had him lined up at tight end because they trust his blocking, and that was with Deebo Samuel behind him. So they were using him in creative ways. They trust him. Kyle Shanahan likes him, so that's why you're probably going to see a 20-25 carry game from Jeff Wilson, especially because this is his third week back.
And with Derrick Henry being out for the season, I can go back to my take and say Jeff Wilson is the number one guy I wouldn't want to tackle in the NFL because now Derrick Henry's out for the season. So Derrick Henry is off that list for now. And Jeff Wilson will be number one. So we'll see how that theory runs. I'm excited because like Jeff Wilson to me is my favorite sneaky good Niner because he's not really talked about because obviously the injuries are a thing, but like, I mean, we're talking about a guy who over his career, like this 230 carries, that's not a small amount of carries. He's averaging 4.4 yards a carry. That's not a small number. I mean, obviously it doesn't work in this, but if you just give him the ball every play, you're getting a first down in 3 plays, which is what you want to do. He alone is above pace. So I'm excited about that. Oh, Jonathan yeah, I know. It's a take I had from last year. Jonathan Taylor's probably up there, but hey, watch the Niner game on Sunday, and we can have this conversation. We'll have this conversation because I think it's a fun conversation. There's a lot of guys I wouldn't actually, honestly, I think 100% of the guys in the NFL I don't want to tackle because tackling does not look fun.
Jonathan Taylor is 22 years old or something like that. Oh my god!
Jonathan,
the speed and the strength of him. I like it's. My goodness, man! Congrats, Colts fans.
I think so. I think Jonathan Taylor is the perfect reason. Like we sometimes overlook like just raw college stats because didn't Jonathan Taylor break the college record in Wisconsin for like most rushing yards ever? Isn't that his record?
I mean, if he had more rushing yards than Ron Dayton, he did something really well. I mean,
I could be wrong. I know he broke some record. I forget exactly what he broke. And the dude was a second round pick. And that's in 2020. He was a rookie last year. So, I mean, I believe there was a couple running backs taken before him. I could be wrong. Let's see. I don't. Yeah, Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, both taken before him, and I mean, I think there's a very good argument that Jonathan Taylor. Like, no, there is no argument. He is the best running back out of this class.
What if the Chiefs took Jonathan Taylor? I mean, they should have taken a running back anyway. But my goodness, man! Oh, what a whiff!
Somehow this has turned into a
Colts podcast.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I mean, hey, we have turned this podcast into a Giants podcast, a Yankees podcast. You know, hey, it's our podcast. We'll talk about what we want to talk about. Jonathan Taylor, though, is very good.
Very good.
I don't know, man. Do you have any other points you want to point out? Because I think we've really hit everything. I think we did a very good job this episode, just to pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you know, you're on your lunch break too, so we could wrap up a little bit earlier, so you could probably get something to eat. So we do this. I hope that you're on your lunch break, so it doesn't matter if your job here is
I'm on my lunch break right now. I'm legally
if your boss is watching, he can't be like, "Damn it, that Andrew's stealing my time." You're on your lunch break right now.
I'm on my lunch. I'm not getting paid right now.
No, but yeah, I think we did hit on it. I think we can just go right to the score predictions. I think we kind of touched on everything. The 49ers got to come out here and they got to execute. Just, you know, keep your head on a swivel here in this game and just make sure that you're executing the way that you can. And it's less about who's on the other side. When the 49ers play their game, they're very hard to beat by anyone. And that's how they should be looking at this game.
Yeah, and actually, just to my Jonathan Taylor, 6th most rushing yards in college football history. He was 1,000 behind Ron Dane, which Ron Dane had an extra year actually. Ron Dane played all 4 years. So if Jonathan Taylor is, you know, what he is for 4 years. Wait, what?
Were you with the sneaky link?
I don't even know. What does that even mean?
Andrew, I'll tell you off the. We're not going to talk about this on the podcast. We'll talk
about it off the air. Perfect. Yeah, let's go to score. I wish this was as simple as saying the Niners are better than the Jaguars, but obviously it's not, because we've made that argument all year and it hasn't been the case. I think this game is closer than we think. I am going to go 49ers 20, Jaguars 10.
I've got it 28-17. That sounds like it's a 2-score game, but I think that game's going to be way more it'll be way more competitive than that score shows. I just don't see how the Jaguars can score a lot of points unless the 49ers beat themselves on the defensive end and they're missing a bunch of their assignments, which, you know, you and I kind of watched the tape yesterday and we found some things they weren't capitalized on, but they still have some things that they need to clean up, especially in that secondary. But considering it's the Jaguars and it's not necessarily a high-powered offense, you shouldn't feel so bad about it. But I think that this game's going to be a little bit closer, but I got a 28-17 49ers.
Perfect. Can I plug a thing real quick?
Plug it all.
For me, on Tuesday, November 23rd, my birthday, 6:30 p.m. I'm going to be hopping on with Ed Robinson. I've done shows with him a couple times. I'll be talking post the Jaguar game with him.
Wow.
So check that out. I'll tweet the link out, all that fun stuff. I've talked.
Look at you.
Look at me. Look at me.
Unbelievable, man. I mean, nobody ever wants me on their damn podcast.
Yeah, nobody wants Jason Aponte. who wants Jason Aponte?
Nobody. Just you.
Just me. Come hang out. Come move out here, dude.
No.
Don't
do that.
All right, perfect, man. Jason, I think that's it, man. I really enjoyed this one today. It's a little early. We'll repost this. I don't know why I'm saying it now, because for the people who are going to watch us in the future at our normal time, I'll repost this YouTube link at 5:30. For those of you who are missing, I don't know why I'm talking to the people who aren't here, but I'm talking to the people who aren't here. So you guys can watch it. Just start this video at 5:30 and it'll be like it's live. And hey, if you're new to this YouTube channel, I've seen a few new names here. Darius, hello. Subscribe, like this video, turn on the notifications. Because anytime Jason Aponte's name pops up on my phone, I like it. So hopefully you guys get the same joy out of it as I do. So
Noti gang.
any final thoughts?
Nope. Before we nope. Niners win this game and they get back on track, and then you go to the next week. But just go in there, execute, play your game, and there's going to be very few teams that can beat you, and this should be a win.
It should be a win. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. And Garrett Cole was robbed of the Cy Young.
And
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.